The 1980 D United States half dollar, part of the long-running Kennedy half-dollar series, is a copper-nickel-clad coin minted at the Denver Mint, indicated by the D Mint mark located on the obverse front, just above the date near the bust of President John F. Kennedy. The 1980 issue belongs to the third decade of the design's history, which began in 1964 after the assassination of President Kennedy, when Congress fast-tracked the coin's creation as a national tribute. The obverse of the 1980 D half-dollar features Gilroy Roberts' portrait of Kennedy, facing left, showing his distinct hair, jawline, and neckline, accompanied by the inscriptions Liberty arcing above, the motto, "In God We Trust," placed horizontally at the base of Kennedy's neck and across his truncation, and the date, 1980, centered below. The design reflects the classic modernist aesthetic of 1960s American coinage, prioritizing realism and national significance. The reverse back, designed by Frank Gasparro, showcases the presidential seal, featuring a detailed heraldic eagle with outstretched wings, clenching an olive branch in its right talon, symbolizing peace, and a bundle of arrows in its left, symbolizing readiness for defense, its chest adorned with a striped Union shield. Above the eagle floats a ring of 50 stars representing the states, with an arc of rays emanating upward, and at the top appears the long-standing national motto, E pluribus unum, Latin for out of many, one, placed on a banner held in the eagle's beak. Surrounding this emblem are the inscriptions United States of America along the upper rim and half dollar along the lower rim, each separated by small decoratives that maintain the circular symmetry typical of mid-20th century American coinage. By 1980, half dollars were no longer widely used in everyday commerce, as public circulation had sharply declined since the early 1970s, but the mint still produced them in large quantities for collectors, banks, and limited commerce. The 1980 D mintage totaled tens of millions, making it a common date from a historical and numismatic standpoint. The coin is composed of 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel, bonded in layers. A copper core with copper-nickel outer cladding, weighs 11.34 grams, and has a diameter of 30.61 millimeters, with a reeded edge, a feature originally designed to prevent shaving precious metal from coins, preserved for aesthetic consistency across denominations. While circulated examples have minimal numismatic premium, uncirculated pieces graded MS 65 and above are more desirable to collectors, often recognized by strong luster and sharply struck details in Kennedy's hair and the eagle's feathers. Even higher-grade examples, MS 66 or MS 67, become significantly scarcer because Denver Mint coins often display minor abrasion or bag marks from mass handling. The phrases, "In God We Trust" and "E pluribus unum" on this coin continue two important traditions. "In God We Trust," adopted for U.S. coinage during the Civil War era and officially mandated for all coins by the 1950s, reflects the nation's religious and cultural identity, while "E pluribus unum," used since the earliest federal coinage in 1795, embodies the ideal of unity among diverse states and peoples. The 1980 D half dollar, though seemingly ordinary, occupies a place in modern American history, bridging the period between the early years of the Kennedy design, which once circulated heavily, and the later era, when half dollars became primarily collector items. As such, it remains a popular and affordable piece for beginning collectors, those assembling year-end mint mark sets, or anyone interested in modern U.S. numismatics. The next top. The 1982 D United States half dollar, Kennedy half dollar, is a Denver minted circulation coin struck in a copper, nickel-clad composition, featuring the familiar obverse portrait of President John F. Kennedy, originally designed by Gilroy Roberts and first issued in 1964 as a national tribute following Kennedy's assassination. On the obverse, the inscriptions Liberty arc across the top while "In God We Trust" appears prominently below Kennedy's chin, with the date 1982 positioned beneath the portrait. The small D mint mark, indicating production at the Denver Mint, is found just above the date. The reverse of the coin, designed by Frank Gasparro, displays the heraldic eagle inspired by the presidential seal, The eagle holds an olive branch in one talon symbolizing peace, and a bundle of arrows in the other representing strength and readiness to defend the nation. Encircling the eagle are 50 tiny stars, representing the states, and above the eagle's head appears the long-standing motto, E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one, emphasizing the unity of the states. Surrounding the reverse design are the inscriptions United States of America and half dollar. In 1982, no Kennedy half dollars were minted for collector sets, so all 1982 D coins were struck for general circulation only, making high-grade survivors somewhat scarcer than issues from years with special collector productions. The coin has a diameter of 30.6 millimeters, a weight of 11.34 grams, and is composed of an outer layer of copper-nickel bonded to a pure copper core, giving it a silver-like appearance despite containing no silver. Although Kennedy half dollars circulated widely in the 1960s and early 1970s, by 1982 they were already disappearing from common use, often hoarded as collectibles or novelty items, which contributes to many examples remaining in lightly circulated condition today. Collectors often examine these coins for details such as sharpness of strike on Kennedy's hair, clarity of the lettering, In God We Trust, and E pluribus unum, and the presence of any minting anomalies like die cracks or off-center strikes. While most 1982 D half dollars hold primarily face value in circulated condition, higher-grade pieces, especially those grading MS 65 or above, are more desirable and can command premium value due to the year's absence of collector-only strikes. Overall, the 1982 D Kennedy half dollar represents an interesting snapshot of late 20th century American coinage, a modern, patriotic design combining national mottos, presidential imagery, and emblematic symbolism, all produced during a period when the denomination was gradually transitioning from a circulating workhorse to a coin primarily sought after by collectors. The next top. The 1984 D United States of America Kennedy half dollar is part of the long-running series first introduced in 1964 to honor President John F. Kennedy following his assassination, and the 1984 D issue continues the familiar artistic legacy established by the designers Gilroy Roberts and Frank Gasparro. Roberts crafted the obverse portrait while Gasparro created the reverse featuring the heraldic eagle. The 1984 D half dollar was struck at the Denver Mint, identified by the D mint mark located on the obverse, just to the left of Kennedy's neck truncation. On the front of the coin, the central feature is a left-facing profile portrait of President Kennedy, accompanied by several inscriptions. Liberty arcs above his head, the national motto, In God We Trust, appears below, split with In God on the left and We Trust on the right, and the date 1984 is centered beneath the truncation. The reverse side displays the presidential seal, where a majestic American eagle spreads its wings while clutching an olive branch symbolizing peace, and a bundle of arrows representing readiness for defense. Surrounding the eagle are 50 stars representing the 50 states, and along the top curve appears United States of America, while the denomination half dollar is inscribed along the bottom. Above the eagle's head floats a banner with the classical Latin motto, E pluribus unum, meaning out of many, one, reflecting the unification of the states into a single nation. By 1984, Kennedy half dollars were no longer struck for extensive circulation use. Demand for the denomination had declined sharply in the 1970s, yet millions were produced mainly for collectors and limited distribution, and the 1984 D issue is composed of the standard post 1971 clad alloy, an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core, giving the coin a total weight of 11.34 grams, a diameter of 30.6 millimeters, and a reeded edge. While not containing silver, the 1984 D half dollar maintains its significance as part of a presidential commemorative series that has remained in continuous production for decades. Most 1984 D half dollars encountered today are common in circulated condition and hold primarily face value, but uncirculated or high-grade mint state examples often appeal to collectors. Extremely well-preserved pieces graded MS 65 or higher are valued for their sharp strike, strong luster, and overall eye appeal. Proof versions of Kennedy halves were struck only at the San Francisco Mint in 1984, not Denver, so any highly reflective 1984 D half dollar is simply a well-struck business strike rather than a proof. Because the 1984 D is a modern clad coin, any unusual features such as doubling, die cracks, off-center strikes, or planchet errors can increase interest among specialists who collect minting anomalies. Overall, the 1984 D Kennedy half dollar embodies both the artistry and symbolism traditionally found in United States coinage. The portrait represents national memory and leadership. The reverse eagle conveys strength and unity. In God We Trust echoes long-standing American values, and E Pluribus Unum expresses the fundamental idea that the nation is formed from many people and states coming together as one. Although it is a relatively common coin, it remains a treasured piece for collectors of modern U.S. numismatics, Kennedy memorabilia, and those who appreciate the cultural and historical messages embedded within American coin. The next top. The 1985 P United States of America Kennedy half dollar is a clad circulation coin struck at the Philadelphia Mint, identified by the P mint mark located just above the date on the obverse. Although half dollars were authorized in the Coinage Act of 1792, the particular design featured on the 1985 issue belongs to the Kennedy half dollar series, introduced in 1964 to honor President John F. Kennedy shortly after his assassination. By 1985, the composition had changed from the original 90% silver, 1964, and later 40% silver, 1965 to 1970, to the modern copper-nickel-clad alloy consisting of an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core, giving the coin a silvery appearance without containing precious metal. The obverse front of the coin displays a left-facing portrait of Kennedy designed by Gilroy Roberts, with the inscriptions Liberty arching above his head and In God We Trust placed horizontally across the lower field, divided by the portrait's neck truncation. The date 1985 appears at the bottom. The reverse back, created by Frank Gasparo, features the presidential coat of arms, a heraldic eagle with a shield on its breast, holding an olive branch in one talon, and a bundle of arrows in the other, surrounded by a ring of 50 stars, symbolizing the states. The motto, E Pluribus Unum, out of many one, appears above the eagle's head on a flowing banner, while the inscriptions, United States of America and half dollar encircle the rim. Although intended for circulation, by the 1980s the half dollar was rarely used in everyday transactions, resulting in low public demand. However, the U.S. Mint continued to produce millions of them each year to meet collector interest and maintain the denomination's legal existence. The 1985 P issue had a substantial mintage, over 20 million pieces, making most examples common, especially in circulated condition. Numismatists typically value circulated coins at face value, while uncirculated and higher-grade pieces, especially those with strong luster, minimal marks, or especially sharp strikes, may carry small premiums. Unlike some other years, the 1985 P half dollar is not known for major die varieties, but minor die cracks, die chips, and slight variations in strike strength can be found and are sometimes sought after by specialists. The coin's mottos, In God We Trust and E Pluribus Unum, reflect long-standing national ideals appearing across U.S. coinage, with In God We Trust first widely used during the Civil War and made mandatory on most coins in 1955, while E Pluribus Unum has appeared since the earliest federal coinage. Collectors often appreciate the 1985 P Kennedy half dollar not for rarity, but as a representative of mid-1980s American minting quality, uniform clad composition, and the enduring legacy of the Kennedy design, which has become one of the longest-running motifs in modern American coinage. As part of a complete Kennedy half dollar collection, whether by year, mintmark, or by date and mintmark combination, the 1985 P stands as a readily obtainable and historically meaningful piece, illustrating the transition of the half dollar from a once circulating workhorse to a largely collector-driven denomination. The next top. The 1986 P United States half dollar is a circulation strike coin minted at the Philadelphia Mint, identifiable by the P mint mark, and belongs to the long-running Kennedy half-dollar series that began in 1964 following the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. Like all regular half-dollars minted from 1971 onward, the 1986 P piece is composed of a copper-nickel-clad alloy, specifically an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core, resulting in a total weight of 11.34 grams, a diameter of 30.6 millimeters, and a reeded edge. The obverse front, designed by Gilroy Roberts, features the left-facing portrait of President Kennedy with the motto, "In God We Trust," positioned beneath his chin and separated into two parts by the truncation of the bust, the date 1986 centered at the bottom, and the mint mark, P, tucked just above the date between Kennedy's neck and the rim. The reverse, designed by Frank Gasparo, displays a detailed heraldic eagle derived from the presidential seal. The eagle holds an olive branch in its right talon, symbolizing peace, and a bundle of arrows in its left, representing preparedness for defense. Above the eagle floats a ring of stars and the inscription, E pluribus unum, placed prominently above the bird's head, while the legends, United States of America, and half dollar circle the outer rim. Because half dollars saw declining use in commerce in the 1980s, most 1986 P coins experienced limited circulation and were distributed primarily through mint sets and general production runs rather than heavy, everyday cash use. The total mintage exceeded 13 million coins, making it a common issue in the Kennedy series and generally easy to obtain. Circulated examples typically hold face value, while uncirculated pieces with strong luster, clean fields, and minimal contact marks may command modest premiums among collectors. Coins graded MS 65 or higher can be of greater interest, and exceptionally high-grade pieces such as MS 67 and above are scarcer due to typical bag marks and handling during mass production. The historical context of the 1986 P issue fits within a transitional era in U.S. numismatics, when the mint was producing both traditional circulating coins like this half dollar and major commemoratives, including the 1986 Statue of Liberty coins, reflecting increased public interest in modern U.S. coinage. For collectors, a 1986 P half dollar is valued not for rarity, but for completing date and mint mark sets, studying die varieties such as minor die cracks or strike variations, and appreciating the enduring symbolism of the Kennedy design and its mottos. In God We Trust, on the obverse as a long-standing national declaration of faith, and E pluribus unum on the reverse, meaning out of many, one, representing the unity of the United States, both of which make the coin a small but meaningful artifact of American history, culture, and minting. The 1991 D Washington Quarter, minted at the Denver Mint, indicated by the D mint mark, is a circulating U.S. coin composed of a copper-nickel-clad structure with an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core, weighing 5.67 grams and measuring 24.26 millimeters in diameter. The obverse features the well-known portrait of George Washington, first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of his birth. Above Washington's head is the word Liberty, while the motto, In God We Trust, appears to the left of his profile, with the date 1991 at the bottom and the mint mark D to the right of the ribbon in Washington's hair. The reverse displays the heraldic eagle, used from 1932 to 1998, perched on a bundle of arrows, symbolizing military readiness, with olive branches beneath, representing the nation's preference for peace. Encircling the top of the design is the phrase, United States of America, while the traditional national motto, E pluribus unum, out of many, one, appears directly beneath the eagle, reflecting the unity of the states forming a single republic. The coin's face value, $quarter, sits at the bottom of the reverse. In 1991, the Denver Mint produced over 630 million quarters, making the 1991 DA common date in the Washington Quarter series. Therefore, most circulated examples hold only face value, although well-preserved uncirculated or error coins can be desirable to collectors. The 1991 D quarter belongs to the pre-statehood quarter era and is part of the long-running design that remained largely unchanged for decades, symbolizing stability in American coinage. Even though it is not rare, it serves as a small historical artifact from the early 1990s, an era before state-themed quarters and before major redesigns of U.S. currency, carrying the iconic inscriptions Liberty, In God We Trust, and E Pluribus Unum, which have appeared on U.S. coins for over a century and continue to represent national identity, civic ideals, and American heritage.